Welcome to Complete Car and welcome to the new Toyota Corolla. I say new, it's really just updated, but there are some significant updates for this latest generation of, well, the best-selling car ever, the car that's not long past 50 million total sales worldwide since the first one was introduced in 1966. So what's new? On the outside, even Toyota admits you'd have to be a colossal Corolla anorak to actually see any major differences. There are new headlights. The shapes are basically the same, but the bits inside are new. There's new grills down here and here in the middle of the bonnet. There's slightly reprofiled brake lights and rear bumpers. It's all very subtle stuff. New colors. This is a new metallic gray. There's a very, very fetching shade of dark blue called juniper blue. That's really nice. Once again, we have four-door saloon, which is what this one is, five-door hatchback and five-door touring sports estate. Now, Ireland is a big market for the saloon, for the Corolla saloon, and we're unusual in that because the UK doesn't get the saloon at all. In fact, it's us, Israel and Turkey, basically, that get the saloon. This is still a very popular car in Ireland. It's not my favourite. I think the styling is a little more dowdy than the hatchback and the estate, but it does have the benefit of being built on a longer wheelbase than the hatchback. So there is more rear seat space, and that is a very good thing. Very good boot out the back too. Now, the important mechanical changes are all under the bonnet. There's no 2-litre version for us. We're only getting the 1.8, but that's been upgraded. That's gone up from 122 horsepower to 140 horsepower. Most of that is due to a bigger battery and a bigger electric motor. So actually, fuel economy and emissions have stayed about the same in spite of the extra power. And it is still a very, very economical car. You can easily beat 50, even 60 miles per gallon in old money with one of these if you drive it with some care and attention. There's been some changes to the inside too, so let's go and take a look at those. Here on the inside, we've got two big changes. One is a new 10.5-inch touchscreen here in the center of the dashboard for the infotainment system. And it's a vastly improved infotainment system. We've already seen this system in the Corolla Cross, in the Yaris Cross, in some Lexus models as well. It's so much better than the old Toyota one. It's a big, big improvement. Also a big improvement, this new 12.3-inch digital instrument panel, which is going to be standard across the range and which is so much classier and so much clearer and nicer than the old half digital, half analog system that the Corolla used to use. You can fiddle around with it, you can change the settings, the layouts, the information displayed. It's quite customizable and it's really, really nice. The Corolla also now gets over-the-air software updates to the infotainment system, and there's a phone app that you can connect to and you can check the status of the car, flash the hazard lights in the car park if you can't find it, and so on and so forth. There is increasing levels of connectivity here in the humble old Corolla. The rest of it hasn't really changed very much, and to be honest, it didn't really need to. It's got a really nice dashboard layout, although I do still feel that the passenger side design eats into your knee room a bit too much. But the quality levels are spectacular. You get into this car and it's immediately hushed and quiet and solid feeling. I mean, there are executive, expensive cars that don't feel as well put together as this. This is still one of the benchmarks for vehicular quality. It is a lovely place to spend time. Really comfortable too. Great seats. Storage is not brilliant. There's some cup holders here. There's a bit of under armrest storage here. And there's a optional wireless phone charger here. The door bins are okay. It could do with a bit more sort of, I suppose, open plan storage, which would make it a bit more practical in the front. But by and large, it's fine in that regard. Well, here in the back, as you can see, it's crucial that this is the four-door saloon model, which does get the longer wheelbase. And I've got a nice amount of space here for me. I can sit, theoretically behind myself. There's just enough knee room. Headroom's a little bit tight, though. That roofline does come down quite sharply. Doesn't help that this has got the optional sunroof. But overall, it's a pleasant enough place to be. It's a little bit dark with this roof lining where the C-pillar goes down. That's a bit of a shame, but you do get two USB-C slots. You do get an armrest on this particular model. This is a very, very high-grade model, though, so this won't be standard on all of them. Yeah, it's fine back here, even for tall adults. I don't think you'll get 3 adults sitting across the back bench, though. It's a little bit too narrow for that. So what's the Corolla actually like to drive? Well, if you've been familiar with the car since this particular version was launched in 2019, you won't be surprised to learn that it is basically relentlessly competent. Now that maybe undersells it a little bit, because what we've got here is a car that's really, really well set up and actually can be quite entertaining when you get it on a nice twisty turny road. The steering is light but very direct, very smooth, really quite pleasant to use. It's not a thrilling car to drive. I still think that the likes of the Mazda 3 and the Ford Focus have the edge in terms of driver entertainment and driving dynamics. But it's a fairly narrow edge, and anyway, for most people, I mean, driving dynamics matters to me and 3 other guys on Twitter. It's not what most people are looking for. In terms of the improvements to the hybrid system, there's some quite good work gone on here. I mean, to feel the extra 18 horsepower, you need to have it in sport mode, to be honest with you, because if you're in eco or normal, the throttle response is still fairly gentle. It's direct. It doesn't feel, there's less of that old elastic bandy feeling that you got with old Toyota hybrids, much, much less, in fact. But again, sport mode is where you really notice the extra grunt of the engine. And I think that's a little bit self-defeating, because let's face it, most people are not going to drive their Corolla Hybrid around in sport mode, which maybe is a bit of a shame, but that's just the way of the world. This longer wheelbase saloon feels relatively languid, relatively easygoing in the corners. I think if you want maximum agility, you probably should go for the shorter, slightly more responsive feeling hatchback. But then again, you're losing the interior space, and you're losing the interior space and boot space of the Touring Sports Estate. So that's the trade-off you're going to have to make. If it was me, I would definitely go for the Estate, because it's still very, very good to drive, but much, much more practical than the hatchback, and to my eyes, more attractive than this 4-door saloon. There have been some useful other innovations as well. Toyota has improved the forward-facing camera and the forward-facing radar. So not only does it detect objects and obstacles further away than it used to, which is a boon for safety, it's also got less of a blind spot when things are close in. So that's very good. But equally importantly, there's a new system that kicks in a higher level of regenerative braking if the camera detects there's a corner or a slower vehicle ahead of you. When you lift off the throttle, you'll notice a much stronger sense of deceleration. And it's not just a safety item either. When you're on one of those twisty roads that the car genuinely does enjoy, you'll notice that you can use it to help balance the car on the entry to corners a little bit better as well. It's actually quite a good system. You can adjust the levels and how powerfully it works here in the dashboard, although you do have to be stopped to do that. As with all Toyota vehicles, to get access to the car's settings, you have to be at a standstill with the gearbox in P, which is a safety item in itself. The sat-nav is very, very good. There are 2 versions of it. One uses cloud-based navigation, so although you will lose the signal if you're in an area of very poor reception, the upshot is you get live and instant things like traffic alerts. So that can be very useful. There is a higher spec system in which everything is integrated into the car, and it's effectively on a hard drive. That connectivity system, incidentally, comes for free with the Corolla for the first 4 years. You don't have to start paying until after that. I think the only dynamic issue that I have with the Corolla is that the ride is still quite firm. Now, it's very, very well damped, so comfort isn't really an issue, but just occasionally on very poor surfaces, you will feel it bump and thump a little bit more than, say, again, a Focus or a Mazda 3, and it's noticeable how much tyre roar you get on very coarse surfaces. Now, the roads around here, around Malaga, they do tend to be coarser and rougher edged than the tarmac we get at home. But yeah, you would notice a bit, and it might get a little bit tiring on a very, very long journey, that kind of constant tyre roar. You'll probably have the stereo turned up quite a bit. On the whole, then, the Corolla is, as I say, as it was, a really, really well-rounded performer. This 5th generation hybrid system just keeps getting slightly better with every iteration. It's less rubber bandy, it's more refined, it's generally speaking more economical. Toyota reckon that on motorway driving, that this version, thanks to having the bigger battery, the more powerful electric motor, and the different electronic control system, that the RPMs come down at motorway speed, so you'll get better long-range economy, better long-range refinement. I have to say, I have noticed how much time this car spends on electric power alone, and how long a charge of the battery lasts for when you're driving along, and equally, how much more quickly you can drive and how much more firmly you can accelerate on just electric power. If you think back not all that long ago, you had to really gently tickle the throttle of any Toyota hybrid to get it to stay in electric mode. Now you can actually put your foot down a bit and it'll just stay using the battery and the electric motor, and the petrol engine won't kick in for a surprisingly long time. It may not be hugely representative, but the route we've just taken it on was a mixture of country, mountain roads, a little bit of motorway, some urban roads, a little bit of tight town driving, and we've averaged 76% in electric driving mode. That's really impressive. I mean, that's 3/4 of an electric car on that particular journey. You won't get that on every journey. Obviously, if it was all motorway, you'd probably be down into the sort of 10, even 5%. But then again, if it was all town, you might even do a little bit better than that, depending on the weather conditions and how hard you're using various systems. So prices start from just over €32,000. So they have gone up a bit. Equipment remains very, very good. As I say, this new 12.3-inch digital instrument screen is standard across the range, as is the 10.6-inch touchscreen, as is an automatic transmission, because obviously it's hybrid only, and hybrid comes with automatic. We won't get the 2-litre version, and there's no sign of a plug-in hybrid, and certainly not a fully electric version on the horizon. You'll be able to get it in Luna Sport, GR Sport forms, and of course there is that 3-way split: the hatchback, the saloon, and the estate. The estate, to me, is still the sweet spot of the range. Actually, pleasingly, the guys from Toyota did tell us last night that demand for the estate in Ireland exceeds what they can get in terms of supply. If they could get all the estates they wanted, they could probably shift around 18% of the model mix as the touring sports. Most brands, most models struggle to get past 5% in terms of the estate mix. So clearly, Irish buyers are finally starting to cotton on to just how good the estate version of the Corolla is, and just how good estates are in general. It's definitely the one I'd go for. Yeah, it's gotten a little bit pricey, but then again, it hasn't everything. I mean, a Corolla now costs minimum €32,000. You look at other cars in the segment, and they're all up around the same price. It's very, very hard now to get a 5-door family hatchback for under €30,000, unless you're shopping in a Dacia showroom or similar. Yeah, it's still a really good car. It could be a little bit more fun, perhaps, to drive, but that's not really the target market for it now, is it? It's still all about the refinement, the comfort, the quality. The quality is just off the scale good, and the efficiency, and actually now the responsiveness of that hybrid system. It's a really, really well-rounded performer, the new Corolla. So I think in this, the 50th anniversary of Toyota Ireland being established, the success that importer has seen over the last 50 years, it's probably pretty much guaranteed to continue.